Bonsoir. Bonsoir à toutes et à tous et bienvenue dans ce très bel amphithéâtre d'honneur pour cette conversation qui nous rend si heureux et si fiers entre Antony Gormley et Guitemie Maldonado, qui est historienne de l'art et qui enseigne cette discipline histoire de l'art aux Beaux-Arts de Paris. C'est un très bel amphithéâtre où était remis jusque dans les années 1968 le prix de Rome. C'est un amphithéâtre historique et c'est vraiment un des chefs-d'œuvre de notre belle maison. Mais nous venons de connaître un incident technique bâtimentaire grave. Avant-hier, une inondation a complètement envahi le palais des études. Il y avait 1,50 m d'eau sous vos pieds. Et cette inondation qui a entraîné l'avenue de pompiers, il y avait 3 camions pompiers dans la cour. Voilà, ça a été quand même très grave, qui a inondé par ailleurs aussi les caves de nos voisins, a endommagé le système de chauffage. Voilà, donc c'est la raison pour laquelle, et j'en suis vraiment désolée, voilà, je vous conseille de garder vos manteaux, de vous serrer les uns contre les autres, voilà, et puis la chaleur de votre conversation, voilà, va nous permettre de passer un très très bon moment. Voilà, donc merci beaucoup, cher Guitemie, cher Antony, je vous laisse la parole et tenons-nous chaud.
Merci.
Alors, bonsoir à toutes, bonsoir à tous. Merci d'être là ce soir pour cette conversation qui va durer, enfin, on a parlé à peu près 45 minutes, une heure, et puis évidemment d'ouvrir aux questions après. Donc ce sera plutôt en anglais pour Antony, ou en français, ou un mélange?
Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. Je peux parler en français, mais en même temps, peut-être je montre un mot ou deux. Alors, on peut faire comme vous voulez.
Très bien. Eh ben, on va voir. On va voir au fil de l'eau. Donc, je commence par dire juste quelques mots, mais brièvement sur Antony Gormley, parce que je pense qu'il n'est pas besoin de le présenter. Et puis, vous avez cette occasion rare de voir son œuvre à Paris et dans des conditions assez incroyables au Musée Rodin. Donc vous pouvez vous confronter à cette œuvre. Donc Antony Gormley est sculpteur britannique, a commencé à exposer dans les années 80, début 90, avec une œuvre qui d'emblée interroge la présence de la figure humaine, du corps. Et c'est le fil qui court depuis le début de son œuvre. Et ce que je vous propose ce soir, c'est on est dans une école d'art avec des sculpteurs qui s'y forment, c'est de commencer peut-être par revenir au début, aux années de formation. Alors Antony Gormley a étudié d'abord l'histoire de l'art, l'archéologie, l'anthropologie, il faut le rappeler, et puis après la pratique artistique. Mais j'avais envie qu'on commence par revenir sur les années de formation et quelle était la place de la sculpture à ce moment-là, quels étaient les artistes qui comptaient, qui étaient importants, et comment est-ce que tout ça vous a amené à vous définir vous-même.
Alors, oui, c'est nécessaire de parler un peu des bases de la fondation. Je ne sais pas, dans mon imagination de quoi peut être la sculpture. Et pour moi, oui, une visite en 1979 à New York. J'ai gagné un scholarship pour aller là, et j'ai écrit à quelques-unes des sculpteurs que m'a frappé comme importants, comme Richard Serra et aussi Isamu Noguchi, pour avoir l'idée que peut-être je peux travailler pour eux, ou peut-être je peux les montrer mes œuvres. J'ai envoyé des photos. Mais qu'est-ce que j'ai pas prévu, et que dans une sorte de voyage à travers les États-Unis, je vais rencontrer Walter de Maria à le Lightning Field, cette œuvre. Et ça m'a vraiment bouleversé. Cette sculpture qui n'est pas un objet, c'est une place. Une place définie par une relation entre 1 kilomètre et un imperial mile. On peut dire, oui, cet dialogue entre Napoléon et l'idée les maîtres cosmiques, au contraire de l'idée une notion de mesure basée sur le corps. Et qu'est-ce que c'est cette sculpture? 1 kilomètre par un imperial mile. C'est 200 aiguilles qui décrit un plateau parfait, complètement horizontal, dans un environnement où, oui, la terre, ça coule, c'est différent. Et oui, pour moi, cette expérience d'utiliser notre même corps comme une sorte de récepteur de la caractère de l'espace et le temps, ça c'était extraordinaire. En même temps, j'ai vu à New York cette œuvre, The Earth Room, qui est déjà là, qui aussi m'a frappé comme une sorte de confrontation extrême entre l'idée de notre condition urbaine et l'idée de la Terre elle-même. Alors, à ce temps-là, j'ai fini tous mes jours de l'école, mais j'étais frappé par une exposition de Carl André, aussi à Whitechapel, en 1978, où on a vu des œuvres comme ça. Une idée de la sculpture qui prend la condition industrielle de la vie urbaine et le présente comme une sorte de place de réflexion. Et finalement, oui, la première œuvre que j'ai faite qui essaye de retenir l'idée du corps humain, ça parle un peu avec l'exemple de André, en l'idée de la relation entre le part et la totalité, mais je veux introduire là-dedans l'idée de l'existence. Alors ça c'est 600 tranches de pain très industrielles où en 3 mois j'ai mangé le même volume de mon propre corps. Et ça s'appelle lit, bed. Et après ça, j'ai fait 7 œuvres qui s'appellent room. Et ça, c'est fait de mes vêtements, coupés par ciseaux, en bande de 8 mm, plus ou moins, et fait comme une enclosure, comment on dit ça? clôture, oui, une clôture. Toutes les pièces de peau qui sont sur la terre, là, c'est les souliers, les bases de mes souliers. De l'œuvre, c'est la même hauteur que les vêtements sur mon corps. Alors, ces deux parts, bed and room, sont les premières idées de regarder en vie, entre ce qu'on mange et ce qu'on porte comme vêtements. Ça, c'est où nous habite, où nous demeure. Et avant de ça, et ça, c'était la première œuvre que j'ai fait en retournant des Indes, où j'ai vécu pour 2 ans. J'ai fait ça au-dessus du corps d'un ami. J'ai juste placé une sheet, how do you say, bed sheet. Un drap, oui, où j'ai mis du plâtre. Et ça, c'était une sorte de méditation sur une expérience, surtout à Calcutta, à l'est des Indes, où j'ai vu beaucoup des gens qui demeurent dans les rues, mais aussi qui sont endormis dans la rue. Et l'idée que on a ça, les deux choses, une sorte d'abstraction. On dit que ça, c'est une place où un gens vit. Mais bien sûr, on n'est pas sûr s'il vit ou non. Quelquefois, il y a, une petite radio transistor tout près de la tête, ou des flip-flops, des sandales. Mais pour moi, c'était une sorte de sculpture vivante qui demande une question. C'est une sorte de question. Est-ce que la vie est là ou non? Mais aussi une idée sur une autre attitude de comment toucher l'idée de l'existence, surtout ou différent que l'idée de la reproduction, de faire une copie d'un corps. Et finalement, oui, j'ai commencé à faire premièrement des moulages de moi. On peut vous montrer plus tard la système. Et après ça, avait fait beaucoup de sculptures qui sont, couvertes de plomb pour le faire complètement imperméable contre la radiation nucléaire, contre aucune sorte de toxique environnement. J'ai commencé à faire des sculptures en masse. Et ça, c'est quoi j'ai montré à le Musée Rodin en ce moment. Et là, j'étais très frappé par Elias Canetti, Macht und Masse, Crowds and Power. Et dans ce livre, Canetti, il décrit les émotions qui touchent sur les positions normales du corps humain. Alors, j'ai pris 12 de ces en cette ligne qui est, oui, montrer l'art comme une sorte de progression, même une sorte de vision de Darwin, de la possibilité de l'évolution, de la perfectibilité de notre spécie. Mais en même temps, même au commencement, j'ai, oui, avec cette œuvre qui est tombée, je veux montrer la fallibilité, je peux dire, de toute cette idée de la statue. Et ça, c'est très important à moi. La différence entre la sculpture comme un objet réflexif et l'idée de la sculpture qui est toujours une sorte d'idéalisation ou une sorte de reproduction, de matérialisation de mémoire de quelqu'un particulier. Souvent, oui, un corps masculin, militaire, avec grand pouvoir. Et oui, je veux toujours retourner l'idée de la proposition matérielle de la sculpture avec cette idée de faire une réflexion ou demander de la spectateur quoi est cette chose. C'est pas sûr immédiatement. Quoi? Qui? Ou vraiment de pourquoi c'est là. Et oui, pardon.
Est-ce qu'on peut revenir peut-être juste un tout petit peu en arrière sur ce voyage en Inde? Et j'ai lu quelque part que vous aviez un regard particulier sur les Bouddhas, les statues de Bouddha, et je me demandais si ça avait influé aussi sur votre rapport à la sculpture.
Oui, j'étais très intéressé avant d'arriver à Dalhousie, à l'ouest des Indes, sur la sculpture Kola et Pallava, et aussi la sculpture Jain, qui me frappe comme peut-être la première, oui, image du corps abstraite. Ça veut dire que c'est pas particulièrement pour les sculptures Jain, c'est pas une question de faire, oui, une copie exacte de l'anatomie. C'est plutôt une question d'une idée de une condition interne qui c'est appelé pneuma en grec. L'idée de la potentialité à l'interne d'aucun corps. Et comme ça se pousse sur le pot. Et alors oui, j'étais oui, de les premiers pas quand j'ai eu l'idée de revenir ou d'essayer une manière de revenir le corps dans la sculpture, ça c'était dans mon âme, mon esprit.
Il faut mettre le micro plus près. de la bouche parce qu'ils ont du mal à entendre.
Ah.
Ouais, désolé.
Pardon, tu es là, vous n'avez pas entendu rien de ça, mais tant pis.
Si, quand même, je crois.
Okay. Well, how many of you are really good English speakers? La plupart. Okay. Okay. We'll go back to English. I'm sorry. Yeah, my French is pénible. Je m'excuse. Okay. Ask me a question.
Okay, so I wanted to talk also about Rodin, since the exhibition is in this museum, and since Rodin is, for the sculpture, an important figure. So I wondered how Rodin was perceived when you were studying, how you discovered him, his work, what you saw at the beginning, and how maybe it resonates with some things in your work, and maybe also what seems to you more outdated in his conception of sculpture.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions, Guitemie. But yeah, I mean, suffice it to say, in my student days, Rodin was not somebody that I wanted to have any relation with. But there was a book called The Language of Sculpture, written by William Tucker. And I have to say, I mean, it was really going at the invitation of Sylvie, who is here, Bas Fabiani, who is the curator of my show at the Rodin, with whom I mean, it was really a visit to Meudon, and I can't remember exactly the date. Remind us. 2016, so very recently. That it really unlocked things that I had remembered from William Tucker, the object nature of sculpture that Tucker ascribes to Rodin. And it was actually seeing the plasters and seeing the incredible collection of broken antique works that Rodin had around him in a way intimate zone of making, that completely reanimated his importance for sculpture. I think that there are two quite contradictory views of Rodin. One is that he comes at the end of a long, in a way, history of the statue, and the statue as, in a way, public memorial in collective space. And then the other is that actually he is the father of Richard Serra and Donald Judd and Carl Andre, somebody who really understood the idea of Taylorism, the idea of the reproducibility of elements that could be recombined. And the show that we had of Rodin very recently in London at the Tate really reinforced that view of this extraordinary freedom that he allowed himself in reassembling and reassessing earlier works of his into new combinations. The way that he could take a head or a hand and literally, by turning it onto different sides and seeing where it came to rest. I mean, if we think of the Sleeping Muse of Brancusi as this radical moment, actually it was Rodin who got there before him. in terms of with the large head of Iris in particular, but then obviously Iris, messenger of the gods, which starts as a recumbent female nude, and then becomes this kind of, again, I mean, the confrontation with the feminine. Anyway, yeah, it was a privilege and a pleasure through this. It was really, you know, to go into those vaults, to go to Rodin's bedroom and see, you know, this primitive Spanish crucifixion at the top of his bed, and at the bottom this, yeah, ancient torso from Greece or Rome, a body that had been whole, that was then in its part form more powerful than in its whole form. And I think that Rodin's attitude to the object nature of sculpture liberated it from this, in a way, duty of public sculpture to support power, to be a kind of materialization of the hierarchies of moral value or of greatness, and become something else, become a tool of investigation.
And that's how you look at the L'Âge des Reins, this famous
yeah, the Age of Bronze for me is a really important turning point in this story of the difference and the dialectic between a statue and a sculpture. And I mean, this was relatively early in Rodin's career, but the bravery of it was to, in a sense, take this commission of a military memorial and throw away all the attributes, throw away the weapon, close the eyes of the young Belgian soldier who he was using as a model, place one hand to the forehead in a gesture of self-reflection. Anyway, it's really, really important to me that this whole, then, this connects with what I was saying about the Jain sculpture. What he's talking about is a moment of internal transformation. And then he manages, by giving it this title, L'Âge des Reins, the Age of Bronze, to link that with the idea of, in a way, the transformation of our species. And there is something, you know, there's another connection with me, because we know that he was criticized for the lifelikeness of his modeling was such that he was accused of casting from life. But that idea that the work in the end was talking about life and maybe about doubt rather than military certainty, or indeed the kind of heroic model that he might have been encouraged to use. Anyway, this was, yeah, for me, very, very, right from the very beginning of reassessing what Rodin meant for sculpture, it seemed to me this was a really key work.
In the museum, the statue from Rodin, I don't know if we have a picture, is with one of your sculpture, which is called Bust.
Oh, yeah, we do, yeah. I just whizzed through. Yeah, sorry, there it is. Wait. I'm going the wrong way, sorry. Back we go.
Yeah.
There it is, yeah. So, yeah, I was interested in having this dialogue. The 5 works in the Hotel Biron are very consciously conversations in the silent language of sculpture. So here we have L'Âge d'Iran and a work called Burst. L'Âge d'Iran is superb because of the inflections of the skin. Burst is maybe of interest because there is no skin. However, they both, in different ways, talk about what I was trying to describe, the idea of the internal potentiality of the body, and the body itself as a place of transformation. And yeah, it was really important to me that the work was on the floor. There was no plinth. There was nothing demarking this object as different. That we shared a common ground. The viewer and the object shared a common ground. And I mean, even the incidentalness of this installation was very important. It is on the axis of the main enfilade of rooms in the Rodin, but at the same time, in relation to the framing of all of the works of Rodin, it is different. It is on the side of the viewer.
So maybe we can go to the what is I think beautifully shown in the show at the museum is the process how you work.
Yeah, let's do that.
So there is.
Oh, well, we just should talk about this. Sorry,
okay.
Oh, bugger now. I'll just go back to that one. I wanted to. Yeah, okay. This was really important to me, because this talks about the skin and in another way. And it's interesting to me that the final solution of the Balzac was, discovered through the bathrobe, that in a way pushing the body back into the monolithic sort of nature of a standing stone, the Ur sculpture. Rodin, in a way, covering up the brilliance of his modeling, allowed the presence of the work far greater impact. And I just wanted to, the robe itself, I think, has a power, and it is to do with the presence of absence, that is also very important to me. The showing of this mold, which was just a tool in the process of making a work, I think allows people to think about what a sculpture does in terms of displacement, in terms of how, in a way, the void, the bodily darkness that we can access when we close our eyes, in the end is, it can be intimated through materialization. Anyway, this was for me, maybe the most poetic part of the show as a whole. But you wanted to talk about the process. So
there is the mode.
Yeah. So, oh dear, sorry, I've just gone through all of them by the wrong way around. So, yeah, this is 30 years ago. So this is old, this is an old story. But here I am. I mean, I started making these works. I mean, it was a logical progression, having made bed and room, to then use my own existence as subject, as tool, and as material. You could say material. I mean, on one level, this is more related to performance art than it is perhaps to the work of Rodin. I started using Vaseline, and in a typical way, but that was soon replaced by Glad wrap or cling film. And so I'm just showing you the process. So I just have to stand there with my eyes closed, and then I'm covered in the same thing that I made that first sleeping place with, jute, scrim, and plaster. And I'm completely covered, and I stand there for an hour or two. And then when the plaster has gone off, I'm cut out and released. And then we have the two halves of the mold, and we fit them back together. And there may be necessary cuttings and replacements, and then here you can see the beginning of critical mass, which is the work at the Rodin. So that's the beginning of the making of the form, and then, of course, they have to be cast. And this was something else that it was really important to me, to use, as it were, the products of the Industrial Revolution. And rather than a fine art foundry, to go to an industrial foundry. Yeah, this is a mold, just having been coated, the same mold now having released the work, and the work being removed, the sand mold being removed from that. So there's the whole process.
I was curious about the casting process, the cast process, and how, what do you think, what do you feel when you are during 1 or 2 hours in this?
Yeah, I think for me it became a replacement of formal meditation. I think none of this work would have been possible without having studied Vipassana meditation for 2 years in India. And this was really a revelation to me. I've had quite a classic British education, but suddenly it wasn't what you could reproduce from the great thoughts of others, or the dates and the numbers that you could remember from either famous mathematical principles or events in history, but what you could experience directly firsthand in time. And anyway, I think that paradox of, on the one hand, having to make a determined act of will that you are going to stay in a particular position for quite a long time, and the fact that that decision then made it impossible for you to act through your own freedom of will, interested me quite a lot. And anyway, I'm maybe over-intellectualizing it. I mean, it is an interesting thing that when you still the body, the mind becomes, I think, free, if you have the right instruments.
And you emphasize a lot the fact that it's really essential for you to be the one who experiments all the process. So it's always your body, it's always your
I think
experience.
this is something else. I mean, it's interesting the degree to which the artist model trope or idea of what particularly a male sculptor is supposed to do. A distanced body. I mean, I'm thinking now about Giacometti in particular, who made so many sculptures of his brother or his wife, Annette. But they all are about, in a way, describing a body at a distance and the relationship of space and distance to that body. I'm interested in Giacometti because he thereby allows sculpture to become fragile, to describe its own, in a way, jeopardy. But it still depended on this artist model reproduction idea. And I didn't want to speak for or about anybody else. I wanted to use, as it were, the bit of the world, the bit of the material in the world that was closest to me, that I happened to live inside. And I think that breaking of the idea of the objectification of another and replacing it with, as it were, the lived experience of, you could say, the particular subjective individual, was a very important break for me with if you like, the modes of artistic life that had been bequeathed to us from the 19th century.
One of the really important discoveries for us in the exhibition is the corridor with your sketchbooks.
Oh, yeah.
200 and I don't know how many. So you draw a lot.
Yeah, no, I just have to have these with me all the time. Yeah, there we are. So this is the corridor, if you haven't seen it, and this is. So, you know, I've always got one or two in my back pocket, and yeah, the fact is, yeah, on my way here, I was drawing, and I draw. Yeah, I draw all the time because drawing is the first step, and it's just a way of thinking, and I think that yeah, drawing is what drawing is a way of feeling. Without maybe words again, that allows you to, in a way, project yourself into a place. And I remember asking Jeff Koons once, you know, you're really good, your finishes are fantastic, but where does this all begin? Can you show me a drawing or two? I didn't ever see one, unfortunately. But I think of drawing as it's the root hair, the kind of the first little kind of shoot of a creative process, and we all have phones and we all take photographs the whole time now, but it's not the same thing. I think that drawing is just a way of, even drawing, you know, just drawing when you're in a room or in a landscape and trying to transmit through that drawing what it feels like to be in that room or be in that landscape. It's a really necessary way of rooting yourself in the experience of being.
And then come the models.
Models. Yeah, I do a lot of models. Yeah. So shall we look at one or two of those? This was interesting to me because this relates to that word that I've just been using, like dwelling, indwelling. And I was pleased with this vitrine. I let Sophie and Adam do the decision about what was going in what vitrine. But I just like the fact that these two works, they're deliberately not doing anything. They're not showing the relationship of a mother to a child. They're not a recovery of a kind of Madonna and child kind of tropes. And then the relationship between, say, this was a model of a work called Learning to See, which has a lot to do with the Age of Bronze. But next to it is the model of allotment, which was the first time that I made a concrete work that substitutes the body with a building, but now the building is the minimum building that a single body might use. So just having these two together in this context of very beautiful maquettes of Rodin's, I think was a really lovely shift of, I suppose, describing the shift.
There is a wide range of vocabulary in the maquette that you use. Some very transparent and open, and some more massive, and some referring to maybe atoms or models of physical, of chemical elements, or I don't know. But there are a wide range of references that come when we see the models.
Yeah, I guess I'm always playing with asking that question: what is a body? So this is like one object made of two bodies that are interconnected, and you could say, well, what's the reference here? Well, you could say, well, it's a printed circuit, it's an electrical circuit, it's an idea about a body as an energy system, and then then there may be another idea, which is like thinking about the way that bubbles describe absolute geometries that they share with crystals, for instance. And I guess I'm always going. The first little maquette I showed was Learning to See next to an allotment, which uses the idea of architecture, but then. I can use different vehicles to then interrogate the body in a different way. And I'm thinking here, I guess, about stone, and about stone, how it crystallizes and forms from igneous lava into discrete forms. And I suppose what is this all about? I want to release the attitude of the body and treat the body as a whole as traditionally art might have treated the face. And I don't want you to be mesmerized by the perfection of a copy. I want you to be invited to inhabit this thing that has some of the attributes of a body, but invites you to inhabit it, maybe your own, in a different way. And this thing of refusing what I call the accidents of appearance in order to get at an attitude, a set. That's been in the work for a very long time, and I think I ought to go back to just showing you the insiders, because they were really, oh, where are they? Sorry, this is very annoying. Somewhere here we have got the insiders, haven't we? Or not? Yes, maybe? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So this was an early attempt. This was after I had shifted from making hollow molds as the kind of vehicle of talking about, in a way, the body as a space, to then thinking about, can I concentrate the core of the body and thereby liberate an attitude from appearance? And yeah, this was a very, very clear empirical system that was applied to the body, where you divide it into horizontal segments and then reduce by 3/4 by 66.66% recurring. And I was really well pleased with this again dialogue with these crystallized works of Rodin's made from calcium carbonate from the whitest of marbles, and then these cores of human, in a way, attitude, where yes, it's something to do with pain, but also something to do with confronting the fact that all of us live the other side of appearance. As I look at you now, your faces, your bodies belong more to me than they do to you. You're looking at me out of your appearance. And I think the challenge that I set myself was, how can you bring that truth of the subjective experience of being back into sculpture without falling into representation or, in a way, the perfect copy? And this was the first kind of step in that inquiry.
So maybe we can talk about now the critical mass. It's the title of the exhibition, and it's the title of a work that you made 30 years ago, and it is shown outside the museum, in the courtyard, in the garden, and inside. So you began to talk about the various positions that you have created for this work, and it's very interesting to see it outside and inside, and in various configurations. Outside, there is this line that we saw. The line goes from the thinker to the gates of hell, and passes along the three shadows. And at each time, it's a dialogue with those sculpture by Rodin, and it's this movement of getting on one's feet and standing, and we saw how this movement is difficult and maybe risky also.
Yeah, this is an open question, and the balance between the idea of human perfectibility. So this idea that is implicit, you could say, in both the Darwinian but also in the Pico de la Mirandolas, 100 verses towards the perfectibility of man, written in the Renaissance. And the truth, we have Gaza, we have the Ukraine going on at the moment. It's like everything that E.O. Wilson says. You know, we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and a godlike technology that can destroy us all. And this pile is the opposite of that idea of somehow our belief perhaps in progress, whether that's technological or internal. And yeah, maybe the most important dialogue that I have with Rodin is The Gates of Hell, which I think, you know, for me in the end is a meditation on the fall, a very Christian idea about original sin and our, in a way, inevitable kind of, falling out of grace, which he then translates into falling bodies. And for me, I wanted to recognize the gates of hell as this palimpsest, this extraordinary fertile ground that over a whole lifetime became this generative placenta out of which so many extraordinary works came, with then my materialization of a kind of audit, what is the state of humanity now? And the Renaissance was a time in which there were genuine beliefs in the perfectibility of the human project. I think it's very difficult at the beginning of the 21st century to believe in progress or indeed in the perfectibility of the human project. So we could say that, from where we started, the distinction between public statuary that upholds moral principles and the hierarchy of power. What can sculpture do today that, in some senses, realizes both its intrinsic nature, but also perhaps ours, and helps us reflect upon it, and rather than, in a way, serving the hierarchies of power, allows each of us in our own way to use the ground that it offers to make our own world. And I think it's a very different job, is what I feel. All of the works that I make, I think, are questions. They are materialized questions. What is a sculpture? What is a human being? And indeed, what is the relationship then between life and matter, or life and this use of material to challenge life itself? And I don't have any. I have no position in all of this. I think that what my duty is to materialize a form of positive skepticism about the systems that in a way organize our world, and that's all I can do. And it's very, very important to me, in a way, following on from Rodin, that I accept the truth of, yes, we live in this dual world of the digital and the industrial. And I want to use the methods and materials and means of, in a way, an industrial digital world to then talk about our interior state. And anyway, this suspension, which you could say is clumsy, was a way of characterizing the gift of Rodin at his most radical, which is to insist on the object nature of sculpture, but also to insist on its inherent fallibility, the fact that all things fall, but to make that fallibility, to make that falling felt, not an illustration of it, but felt by the viewer.
And, so the title is Critical Mass, though the expression comes from the nuclear physics and describes a state where the atoms are about to...
The necessary density of a isotope for fission to take place. And yeah, I guess I was thinking at the time that I made it, 1995, about just the rise of human population, the instability of a late capitalist system that insists on eternal growth on a very limited planet, the critical mass is the critical mass both within the material, the potential of a material, but also within the masses.
And it can also describe every situation where everything stands in equilibrium, but on the verge of collapsing or
exploding. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that we can be very, very self-possessed and think that we will be here forever, but we won't. And there's no question that the planet will continue to evolve new life forms. I think that we have at this critical moment, in the full knowledge of the Anthropocene and the sixth extinction, that we have a moment of potential global transformation of our species, but it's not clear that we're taking that responsibility carefully or seriously enough. I think the works can be seen as industrial fossils that are artificially made, that will last for several centuries, and maybe are going to talk to other life forms rather than our own.
Are your current works even more conscious of all those questions?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think, you know, if we go on to works like this, where, in a sense, I'm using the bubble matrix, the most elusive and most kind of fragile of natural forms. The intimation of these is about yes, we are all defined by a biological temporality. That's the nature. You know, Freud talks about it as the death drive. It is the final kind of destiny of all living things to die, and that is a drive in itself. But I think, you know, the question is whether you then apply that to a culture as a whole. And our ability to carry on with business as usual, our ability to self-reflect, to be absolutely mesmerized by our own machines, the way that we have adopted to and been adopted by cyberspace, which I think is also referenced in this. This is, as it were, a body that has been has gone through, as it were, the screen, and is now only just holding on. It's only just there materially. I think it's just talking about this transition that could go two ways. You know, if you believe in Lovelock and well, a lot of futurologists, they feel that the cyborg is the natural evolution of evolution, and that the capability of open AI and machine learning to somehow replicate human consciousness, this is an absolutely natural continuation of the evolutionary principle. But it means that bodies are irrelevant.